Hello and welcome to What's Up with ScribeCount. Let's get right to the questions. Today's question is, why are my Apple numbers so weird? Well, because Apple. I wish I could just go with that, but I'm not going to get into the whole PC versus Apple thing. Who is better and why? That's for each of you guys to decide for yourselves. But Apple has always done things their own way, and their self-publishing platform is no exception. Adding them to the ScribeCount dashboard was a bit of a challenge due to the way they operate, but we punched through it and got there eventually. What's the difference? Most platforms, really any software as a service company, which both ScribeCount and Apple are, we try to separate the internal business functions from the user interface. If you're going to do something internally at your business and your customers are doing that same thing entirely different way, it only makes sense to construct your user interface to fit the needs of your customer, right? Well, Apple has a lot of their business oriented stuff ingrained in the sales reporting interface they have with us indies. So what does that mean? The main issue with Apple is the calendar that they use. While most of us operate using the standard Gregorian calendar, Apple uses a business calendar. We have one here at ScribeCount. We just don't force you guys to use it. So these calendars, they can come in many flavors. There's the ISO calendar that consists of 52 weeks with no months factored in. A lot of companies, big and small, use this for their internal operations. It just looks like a giant Gantt chart. Or they might use a broadcast calendar, which starts every week on a Monday instead of a Sunday. That means that if January 1st happens to fall on, say, a Tuesday, the first day of the new year in the broadcast calendar will actually be Monday, December 31st of the preceding year. They might even use a broadcast ISO hybrid calendar where one refers to weeks of the broadcast calendar by a number. For instance, week 2, day 3 would be Wednesday of the second week of the year. So are we confused yet? It gets worse. Apple uses what's called a 4-4-5 calendar. And this calendar chops the year up into 4 quarters, which we've all gotten used to there. No problem there. But after that, it gets kind of messy because those quarters are made up of 13 weeks apiece. And these 13 weeks are then further split up into 2 4-week months and 1 5-week month. So the 3 months of a quarter at Apple will have 28, 28, and 35 days, respectively. Why does Apple do this? Well, it's internal, like I said. So it allows them to compare sales across quarters with each of those quarters having the same number of days. They can also compare weeks and months in different years with the same weeks and months of the previous period, and everything's nice and the same size. This might be good for the bean counters at Apple, but it's a nightmare for us because we sell our books on several other platforms, none of which use this calendar. They use the standardized one when giving us their reports. So this is a problem for us indies because we can't effectively do any month-to-month comparisons within that quarter. They're not the same length across all platforms. A month at Google will have 28, 30, or 31 days, while the same month at Apple will have either 28 or 35 days. So the closest you can really get are week-to-week comparisons, but even then that can be off because they start their weeks on Monday. It gets worse because with a 4-4-5 calendar, there's only 364 days in a year now. So where did that leftover day go? Don't worry, they just put it in the refrigerator and save it for later. That means that every 5 to 6 years or so, this calendar contains an extra week. So if you're trying to do annual comparisons, it becomes an even bigger nightmare. So how did we fix this at ScribeCount? We embraced the dark side and we bent Apple to our whip. No, not really. What we did is something simply called normalization, which is just a long word for adjusting Apple data to fit the Gregorian calendar that everyone is using. So a scribe count, a month is a month is a month. All right. If you want to know what your sales were for December, let's say on every platform, we tell you what you made for all 31 days of December, and to hell with Apple and their 445 calendar. So your data doesn't exactly match what you see on your Apple dashboard. That's part of why. And I can hear you guys already. Only part, Randall? You mean there's more? Oh, yeah, there's more. Apple has a unique way of labeling things as well. We had a big problem there with them counting free books as sales. Took us a bit of coding magic to defeat that, but it still pops up every once in a while. The short explanation for that is at Apple, you don't give away a book for free, you sell it for nothing. So free books appear in the data as sales for $0. Why they do it that way, we have no idea. It's just another unique issue that you'll only find at Apple. Like the calendar thing, we've kind of managed to code around it, but we always have to keep an eye on it. I could go on about some other things Apple does, but the rest of them are pretty minor in comparison to those two major problems there. So just keep what I said here in mind when you're examining your Apple numbers. Remember that they have their own space-time continuum, and we're adjusting for that. So thanks for attending my Apple rant. I'll see you guys all next time. All right, bye-bye.